Is dissent the new four-letter word in India? In the 70s, it was fashionable to be a dissenter. Now, dissent can land you in jail. It can get you thrown out of your party. From cartoonists to NGO activists, even political dissenters are being detained, arrested, and scorned. These, indeed, are dangerous times to be a dissenter. Joining us at the India Today Conclave for this crossfire are Derek O'Brien, Member of Parliament from Trinamool Congress, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Senior Leader of the Congress Party, Mohammad Salim from the CPIM, Dushyant Chautala from the INLD, and Balbir Punch, Senior Leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Welcome. I want to start by asking Jyotir, why is there no space for dissent in a parliamentary democracy, especially in Parliament, where once a whip gets issued, then every MP essentially needs to conform with whatever the party high command decides? Is that at some level against the idea of a democracy where every MP should be allowed to decide what his view is as opposed to being dictated by the high command?
Well, thank you for having me here, Rahul. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here at the conclave. I think your question doesn't deal with the veracity of the statement today in Parliament. As a member of Parliament and having been there for just over a decade now, it's very clear that within Parliament and also within your own party, you are very clearly mandated to profess your point of views. Each single member of Parliament represents close to about 1.7 million people in Parliament. And I think you are very, very independently open to profess your point of views. Having said that, at the end of the day, after discussion and debate within the party, then a consensus does emerge on the basis of which the party then articulates its stand. And that's the way that this parliamentary democracy has worked for the last 65 years. And so nothing has changed over that period. I also do think that you have multiple voices in Parliament. The very fact that today in the Lok Sabha you have over 55 to 60 parliamentary parties that are represented. So you have all regions, all hues of India represented in Parliament, and that provides a very robust forum for articulation of multiple views based on which then legislation is taken forward.
Derek, in the US and in the UK, leaders are allowed to dissent with what their party high command says. Even if a government is trying to push something, someone like a Balbir Punch can stand up and say, I don't agree with what the Prime Minister, the President is trying to do. In India, that's not the case. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me here. I think there's a distinction. We are allowed to say what we have to say. The forum is different. Let me explain. If you have a point of view, let's say on a bill we are deliberating in Parliament now, let's say the coal bill, you can express yourself at the parliamentary party meeting of your party. Now let's say like a party like Trinamool, where we have about 46 members of Parliament, and the general view is that we're going with Bill A, and there are 2, 3, 4 people who don't want to go with the general view. That debate is settled in the party headquarters. So when you get into Parliament, then the whip is issued. So this is number one. And why are you picking on politicians? I just met Yogi Deveshwar of ITC on the way out. He takes everyone's views in ITC, but I can tell you Yogi takes the final call. So this high command culture which you ladies and gentlemen often use about political parties, it's the same in ITC, it's the same in the Birla companies, it's the same in Reliance. The chief listens to the call, very democratic, listens to all the views, he or she takes the final call.
Mr. Punj, when I go to Parliament and spend time in Central Hall,
can I just
add
a point to what Derek said? It's also very important to understand, just to take his argument forward, and I don't think necessarily a corporate concern is a good analogy, but certainly industry bodies are good analogies, whether it's CII or FICCI. And pretty much you guys do the same. Or if you look at NGOs or across the spectrum, there is a very healthy discussion based on which an articulation is finally formulated by that organization, number one. Number two, Rahul, to the analogy that you put forward to us, whether it's the US system, which is a presidential system, don't forget, which is very different from our parliamentary democratic system, or akin to us, whether it's the UK system. There you do not have the multiple voices that you have in the Indian parliamentary system. You have two political parties, or until recently at least, where in the UK you've suddenly had a third party emerge and they are dealing with a coalition government for the first time in their lives. But having said that, there are only two voices there, and therefore you need multiple voices. In India, you've always had multiple voices, and if you have a cacophony in Parliament at the end of the day, there has to be a very clear articulation based on which legislation is then taken forward.
Mr. Punj, when I go to Central Hall and spend time with parliamentarians, especially the ones who are lower in the rung, not like a Derek O'Brien who's Mamata Banerjee's blue-eyed boy, or a Jyotiraditya Scindia who's doing really well for himself, but lower down in the political hierarchy, there are MPs who feel suffocated, who feel that their point of view on a particular legislation is actually different from that of the party high command, but they feel compelled to restrain themselves because they don't have the opportunity to take a different point of view.
What two of my colleagues have said. What is true of political parties and parliament is true of any construction, any organizational setup. You look at India today and the channel you had. How do you run it? Ultimately, if I'm a correspondent with you and I don't agree the way you are presenting a story, do I have the right to come on television and give my point of view? It doesn't work that way. It is a structure. And you cannot have a system where each member of political party will be articulating that point of view on a forum. And as two of the senior leaders, one from Congress, other from Trinamool Congress, have said, there are forums available within the party. And in BJP, every Tuesday, the parliamentary party meets. Members, irrespective of their seniority, they present a point of view, they articulate what they feel, and then on the basis of that, the leadership formulates a view, a construction, and then a stand is taken in Parliament. In fact, what you consider as a disqualification, that each member is not allowed to have his way, in fact, that is what keeps the system moving. Otherwise, there will be total anarchy.
No, but let me build on your analogy, because journalism cannot be compared with politics, and I'll tell you why. Let's go back to the Congress of the 50s and the 60s. You had people there who were left of center, you had people who were centrist, you had people who were right of center, with very different points of view. What you're doing essentially now is homogenizing an entire party, forcing everyone to have essentially the same point of view.
See, like any other organization, political parties are not static entities. They also evolve and change. And they change keeping, because of three reasons: the quality of leadership at given point of time, the socio-economic conditions, and the quality of members of the political party. But the basic principle remains the same. So you can't have a static situation of 50s and 60s in 2015. It is bound to change in any developing society.
Mohammad Salim, three of our initial speakers believe that things are fine the way they are and that there's absolutely no need to change. Do you also conform with that view, or do you actually believe it will be nice if MPs were allowed to articulate their own independent points of view?
Left is born with a note of dissent. How can I agree with these people? We have perennial dissent. You know that. Through the world. Otherwise, there's no scope for left. And I must congratulate you first that you have asked question about High Command to Jyotiraditya Scindia, about dissidents after what happened to Mukul Roy, to Derek O'Brien, and then about the suffocating MPs in BJP. That's to Parvez Punj. And about dissidents to the left. No, democracy is all about debate, discussion, even dissension, and then you decide. So Parliament is not about this throwing of papers, but this is happening. I can't deny what happened in Kerala yesterday, Kerala Assembly, and what's happening in Bengal. You will not show this also, because this brought to the TRP. If I burn my midnight lamp and discuss and debate next morning, you will not pay attention to that, because it has no value. Now, coming to your question, in our democracy, of course, parliament is a noisy one and a robust parliament. So, noise must be there. और जितने बहरे सरकार होंगे, उतने ज़्यादा आवाज़ होंगे. उनको सुनाना पड़ता है.
ये सरकार बहरी है कि सुनती है?
No, but Rahul,
Please, सरकार तो one way is, yeah.
Rahul,
One way incoming call था, outgoing call तो था ही नहीं.
Rahul, I agree with Salim that the left is a movement of dissenters. But it is a movement which is of dissenters, but doesn't tolerate any dissent within itself. In fact, the Communist parties, the world over,
I'm coming to that.
they have a
That's
record.
part two.
They have record.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
I agree.
Killing
Mr. Poonj
dissent.
is not being allowed to speak inside parties himself, so he will have some time, but don't consume my time. What I'm saying is, one, Parliament works with a party system. What these two people have said, this, even Balwant Poonji also, is a party system. So whatever discussion, because based on a principle some people agreed to, be with that. And election is conducted on the basis of party system. Otherwise, there are independent MPs. And every party is not like AAP, so that anybody can have his own way. वो अपने में आप हैं, लेकिन हमें तो एक party system है. Now I'm coming from a state conference. We'll have an all-India conference. So from down bottom level, we are discussing, debating. Once you decide, so you have to play a role. You are representing the party. But it's not that you cannot have a dissidence. You can stake your membership. You go against your party if you have your conscience. But Derek wants to be with Mamata Banerjee at the same time with the people. That cannot happen. You have to decide which you want to go.
You know, the ace debater is on the back foot, getting it left, right, and center, but this is not your chance.
One second.
No, you have more MPs, but Dushyant might have lesser MPs, but he has to have a chance.
I am not responding to Mohammed Salim. Don't worry. Okay, don't worry. The point, I just want to add one to what everyone else has said. Because you said about a whip. You know, if you're whip, you have to. I'll give you a real story in 30 seconds. Last week, this came up in Parliament. This big issue was about the ban of beef or touching beef and eating beef in Maharashtra. Real issue. Bigger fine than sexual harassment. Trinamool Congress, interestingly, when we had our parliamentary party meeting in the morning, no whip. Our Lok Sabha members, in their wisdom, decided not to touch the subject, for whatever reason. In Rajya Sabha, we decided we want to take this up and make it a strong issue. Guess what happened? Lok Sabha didn't go with it, our team, and we respect that decision. In Rajya Sabha, we've taken up the ban of beef as an issue, because there's no whip, so you can even have difference in a parliamentary party, and that's good. That's all I'm saying. So don't think a whip, everything is not a whip. Whip is only for legislation, not for discussion.
Dushyant, does size matter in parliamentary democracy, or do the bigger parties essentially decide? You know, if the Modi government is to push a deal, at best he'll want to get Jyotir's party on board, a couple of more parties on board. Derek is saying his party is also now, by Congress standards, quite big. Yeah, absolutely. But does the small party really matter? It gets edged out in this game of numbers.
Thank you for inviting me here. It matters, I think. Smaller parties also play an important role. When larger parties go against you, they always try to catch the parties with a single or 2-3 MPs there. But when we talk about the whip, I think this land acquisition bill showed us a good thing. And I asked my colleague in the parliament that you are a Kisan, and are you going to vote for the bill or against it? And he said, Jahan Krishna hoga, wahan Radha nachegi. So whip plays that role. I think it's a responsibility that the party puts on you, and you have to go by the party if you don't even feel like it.
Why must Radha dance if she doesn't wish to?
That is the rule we have made in the parliament.
Rahul, I would advise you very strongly not to go down that route. As to what happened in Rajya Sabha just 2 days ago, I would advise you very strongly to stay away from that debate.
Some of the comments that were made by Sharad Yadav, absolutely.
Yes, so just stay away from it.
Absolutely. So we've spoken for a bit about what happens in Parliament. I want to come to what happens in parties. Because Mamata Banerjee is essentially a classical dissenter. She was born a rebel. And that's how she did her politics, that's how she came to power. Now when Dinesh Trivedi, and he was here a short while ago, presents a budget which isn't in keeping with her wishes, he has to give up his railway ministry. When a cartoonist at Jadavpur University puts out a cartoon that lampoons the chief minister, he gets arrested. When Mamata Banerjee comes to a television show and gets asked an uncomfortable question, the person who asks that question gets labeled a Maoist and she storms off. Now, here's a classical case of the permanent dissenter, Derek, not being able to handle dissent herself.
Mamata Banerjee is a good woman to pick on these kind of chat shows, so I'm used to this. You haven't given any example from any of the other political parties.
These are classical debating tactics. You're not answering my question.
See, listen,
I have questions for each one of them separately.
See, listen, Rahul, at the end of all this, there is only one barometer in a democracy. If you can find another barometer for it, do let me know. When you perform, when you do good work in your state, when you do good work in your constituency, when you reach out to people, you go back to the people, election after election. There are elections next month in Bengal across the municipalities. Please see what the people of Bengal think of this lady. If you're talking about you mentioned the names of a few of my colleagues. I will respond to that directly. Dinesh Trivedi, a friend and a colleague, did have some views on a railway budget. Those views, which he now confesses, were not in line with the party. They were incorrect views. He's a colleague, he's a valued colleague, and we're working happily together in the party. I think at the end of it all...
What about the cartoonist from Jadavpur University who puts out a cartoon that Mamata doesn't like and the government arrests him?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that was the time the internet itself, if you look at it 3-4 years ago, not because you and I have been on Twitter and Facebook for the last 3-4 years. I think at that time, it was evolving. The medium was evolving, and people's understanding of the medium also was evolving. Would that happen on March the 14th, 2015? It would never happen.
First, whenever you put, not here also, in the channel, whenever you put some question, you keep a clock ticking, like a veteran quiz master. He needs that tick, 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 tick. Then only he will answer.
Mohammed Salim is in full form. Can we have it for him, please? You know, Derek is the one who's an outstanding debater, but sir, you've been giving it to him since the time you started. Well done.
Ambikesh Mahapatra's
No. At least let CPM win these chat show debates because they're losing everything else in Bengal. I don't mind. Let them win. And actually the CPM have a happy advantage over everyone. This color, they always play well on a red pitch.
Thanks, Derek.
That's why you
it's
chose
a famous
the green
quote
shirt.
from Mamata Banerjee again. That's good. Now, about this Ambikesh Mahapatra's case. Why only that? In one of the TV chat show, exclusively meant for Mamata Banerjee's 1 year's completion in the government, she walked out. Because that
you forgot about the current Prime Minister who walked out.
No, I'm talking about.
What about the current Prime Minister who walked out of Karan Thapar's show? You don't discuss that.
I'll come.
You don't remember he took the mic off and said, "Chalo, humko jana hai."
आप तो नहीं जा रहे ना, बैठो आप कहाँ जा रहे हो?
No, you guys are very selective in your memory.
No, I'm asking about 3
I agree with you, Mr. Salim. You will not allow me. Ask the BJP spokesperson, why did Narendra Modi walk out of Karan Thapar's show?
Let me say one thing. I'm talking about a special show arranged for 1 year completion of the Mamata's government in Calcutta. Student of Presidency College put a question. And you have Rajdeep Sardesai. Then what happened? It's not about Modi, Mamata, Salim or Sitaram Yechuri. It's a question of whether you are allowing some voice of dissent or not.
That's an important point, because Derek, I think yours was a political answer. Whether you win an election or not doesn't go away from the moot point of whether you culture.
I think the broader picture we are discussing, the broader subject we are discussing is dissenters in a political party. I don't think there is 5 of us who are sitting here can put up our hand on our heart and say, we do not have dissent in our political party. Every party has a dissent. We are now having 1 MP or 2 MPs who are dissenting. So does the Congress, so does every party. So no party can pretend to be the angel. I think the issue is, how do you handle dissent in the political space? That is the challenge. Do you know how much dissent there is in the Congress party?
And in yours, you know Mukul Roy, of course, right?
No, of course. please understand, Rahul, I think I need to tell you this. I'll tell you this.
He has succeeded Mukul Roy.
In Rajya Sabha, I'll give you an example, since you cherry pick. In Rajya Sabha, the Biju Janata Dal have moved the leader of the party twice in the last 1 year, Naveen Patnaik's party, from the first row to the last row. No one talks about that. The AIADMK Jayalalitha, Dr. Maitriyan, leader of the party, from the first row to the last row. Okay. The BJP does it in other ways. From the first row, you stay on the first row, but they put some invisible leucoplast. So that's also one way of doing it. So there are different ways. In the Congress, they do it in the best way. No row. You go on a holiday. So all these different, so these are all different. So boss, we are all in the same pool. We are all in the same pool, but this is a classic case now, a classic case of find out the one lady who wears the chappals, looks a little different, चलो उसको पीछे लग जाओ.
आपसे तो उन्हीं के बारे में पूछेंगे ना. आपसे तो उन्हीं के बारे में पूछेंगे ना.
वो सब पार्टी के बारे में एक्सपर्ट है, तृणमूल के बारे में नहीं बोल सकते.
Speak about every other party except your own party.
I want for a moment to come to the Congress party.
I'm so glad that you put me and Dushyant between these two gentlemen.
Jyotir, can you, in the Congress party, look Rahul Gandhi in the eye whenever he comes back from this holiday that he's gone on and say that, this holiday that you took was deeply embarrassing for all of us.
Holiday or introspection?
And that,
is it holiday or introspection?
One second. If you take these holidays, it makes us look silly because you've gone off right at the start of the budget session and leaving us to the cameras to have to answer all these uncomfortable questions. So is that scope for dissent allowed? Is that scope to tell your leader that you don't agree with him or that his holidays are embarrassing? Is that okay?
Well, first of all, he has gone to introspect, and that is his personal decision. Having said that, I think all of us are completely independently have that ability to be able to address those issues with them. And I personally also have over the last 10 years on multiple occasions. And I think it's important to be able to give feedback, whether it's me who receives feedback at my level, you who receives feedback at your level, or the leaders of the party that receive feedback at their level. Because if we cocoon ourselves from feedback, then you'll never be able to improve your capability in the future. And I think Rahul Gandhi, in his own ability, always does take feedback. And we will certainly be empowered to give him that feedback.
No, so has he got this feedback that this holiday has been very ill-timed and embarrassing for the party? Will he internalize that? And
well, I think let's wait till he does return. He certainly has obviously got things in mind, which we do think he does. Let's see what happens when he does come back. And as far as your point, all of us are independently empowered to give him that feedback.
Is he a classical example of a dissenter in the establishment? He tears up an ordinance passed by his own government. The seniors don't agree with him, therefore he goes off on this political exile, sabbatical of sorts. Is he an example of a dissenter who's part of the establishment?
But that should make you happy.
No, it's great for TV, of course. But
and that should make you happy.
Does it make
but
you happy?
I think it's healthy. I think if you have a different point of view, you must be able to address it. And I think if within the Congress, at the leadership level, he is being able to do that, that certainly empowers all of us to be able to do it within the party at our level as well.
Mr. Punj, when somebody doesn't dissent, we say that there's no dissent and everybody's disagreeing on the same view. When Rahul Gandhi dissents, then people don't like that either. When he tears up Manmohan Singh's ordinance and says, this is rubbish and it needs to go, then people say he's being very indisciplined. I mean, weren't we just saying that there should be some dissent?
Well, it is a classical example of the establishment and dissident being combined, two in one. And that can happen only in Congress party. That you are on the top, you are the establishment, but at the same time, you are the dissident. You represent the dissent also.
With Advani ji, it was happening till recently in the BJP also.
What?
Where he was...
Well, that's why they've made him become a mute spectator now in politics within the BJP.
Given him Margdarshak Mandal status. And no one's taken Margdarshan from him.
Same with Murli Manohar Joshi and a number of others that are going to be exiled in the future as well.
If you're talking about the BJP probably is the most democratic party in this country. People come not because of dynasty, not because of they were born in particular family. People come right from the bottom, work their hard way up, and occupy positions as per their merit and as per their hard work. You tell me any other political party where this can happen. You get into leadership positions because you are born in a political you are born in a particular family.
The basic problem with this party, BJP, is they don't recognize plurality in society, in politics, and even within the party. So if it's one-man show...
If you bothered about the problems within the CPM, CPM will be in a much better health.
I think now you should not
bother about the problems of CPM.
But,
you make an important point, and I want to ask that to Jyotir, because let's take, for example, an Aam Aadmi Party, or even Prime Minister Modi's case, coming from where he does at a tea station in Vadnagar to rise to become the Prime Minister, shows that at some level, with its limitations, the BJP has space for someone who's a no one to rise to the top. Whereas in the Congress, if there can be no Kejriwal-like character who is a dissenter, who takes on the Congress system, shakes it up, and rises to the top.
I couldn't disagree with your statement as much as I could, because the fact is even if you look within the Congress, you've had two prime ministers who are not from the Gandhi family, whether it's Dr. Manmohan Singh for 10 years or others. You've had many leaders who've risen from the grassroots level who have now become leaders within the Congress, whether you look at Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Shinde, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad across the board. As far as the leadership is concerned, they are democratically elected. So at the end of the day, if we put our confidence in that leadership, that's up to the Congress political party.
But you do get the drift of what I'm saying. Someone like a Barack Obama, who challenges the Democratic Party from within, rises within the system. Someone like a Narendra Modi, who rises to the top from within the party architecture.
Rahul, look at all the leadership even within the Congress, whether it's the older generation or the younger generation. You look at someone like Mr. Antony, whether you look at number of names that I've taken at our generation, whether you look at Sachin, myself, number of us at our level, I think it's all, and it goes to the point that Balbir Punji has said, that at the end of the day, we all fight elections. And if you fight elections and you emerge from that electoral process to take the views of the people who you have been voted in by, I think that's the ultimate test of democracy.
I'll give you a good example of somebody who did not have a godfather or a godmother from the Congress party and has risen to the top. But this is a caveat. She had to leave the Congress party in 1998 to get where she got. Okay, this is very interesting because everybody else who left the Congress party, this is modern Indian history, be it the Honorable Rashtrapati ji now, God bless him, be it Sharad Pawar ji, and be it everyone else. If you leave the Congress party, you either get subsumed later back into the Congress party or you disappear. Only one, Mamta Di, has left the Congress party 17 years on her own, running a state government, 46 MPs in parliament. Give the lady some credit where it is due. Give the lady some credit where it is due. Of course, the cartoonist could have been handled better. Of course, the cartoonist could have been handled better.
Shiladitya's question?
Now, again, you are getting petty.
In a party meeting,
I was telling you, I was encouraging you so much.
And
Salim
send him to the jail.
I was encouraging you so much for the next month's elections.
No, because you are praising so much, it's good.
No,
it's good. She took on the left.
I wish you
good
luck.
Congress. She went with the BJP. She went with the Congress. Without those helps, she could not. But it's okay. I appreciate her perseverance. But now question is, if someone put a question from the audience, you send him and brand him as a Maoist and send him to jail. You don't have
But he did say it could have been handled better. And he's saying that you can make a cartoon now.
I just told Mohammed Salim outside.
I have a good suggestion, Derek.
Next month
I have a good suggestion. As you handle Twitter and Facebook for Mamta Banerjee, you should handle these questions also.
Okay.
On behalf of Mamta
I was
Banerjee.
just telling Salim the outside that next month are the elections in Bengal. I was just saying that
election in Bengal. Election.
Now he's going.
In Mamta's days. You have seen what happened to Panchayat election and what's going to happen.
No, I want to come to Balbir. Mr. Punj.
Broaden your mind, sir. Blinkers nikaliye.
Mr. Punj, let's take the current BJP architecture. There isn't much scope for dissent within your party either. In the manner in which the modified BJP works, you have to follow.
This modified was a pun or it was a language you were speaking of?
Let me say modified BJP.
Okay.
In the way the modified BJP works, you pretty much have to agree with Amit Shah and Narendra Modi. Can you say honestly that you can have a different view and survive without going into a Margdarshak Mandal?
See, the parliamentary system of democracy, it imposes certain restrictions, certain limitations, and I can say in all seriousness, that within the party forums, you can raise any issue, you can disagree with the leadership, but you can do within the forums available within the party. And if you become a dissident and open, then of course there are implications. And I think that sort of a limitation applies to all political parties. Now coming to the arrest of the cartoonist, which
I don't want you to go on the cartoonist. I want to stick for a moment to the ruling party.
Just one second.
Just for a moment, sir. No, one second. Because the reality is that the Prime Minister's working style is such that he seeks conformity, much more than in other political parties. He seeks a high level of conformity. If you disagree, then that's the end of your political future in the modified BJP.
No,
is that not the case?
I will term it differently. It is not conformity. It is discipline. You have a cabinet meeting. If a minister has a viewpoint, he can surely present it there. And there are ministers who do participate in cabinet meetings and say whatever they want to say. So, we are equating democracy with indiscipline. That if you have a difference of opinion, you must call a press conference.
Jyotir, was the UPA government more democratic in the way that Dr. Manmohan Singh ran it than the current Modi government?
I certainly think so, because I think not only within your own party, but also the way that we tried to make sure that we developed consensus before we brought something through. And let me give you an example of that, which is the Land Acquisition Bill. When we brought it in 2013, we took 2 years of discussion before bringing it in. The current Speaker of the House, Sumitra Mahajan, was the chairperson of the standing committee that examined that bill, and she took 1 year before she gave her recommendations, which were fully accepted by the Congress party. Sushma Swaraj, who was the then leader of the opposition and much more vociferous than she is now, she's completely quiet for reasons best known to Mr. Balbir Punj. But having said that, she gave a couple of recommendations which were also accepted. When the bill moved to the Rajya Sabha and Ravi Shankar Prasad ji there gave a couple of recommendations, those were accepted. We spoke to 14 political parties, developed some sort of consensus, and that bill was supported by the BJP in Parliament when it was voted on, and therefore it's even more shocking that they've come up with an ordinance now to change the whole nature of that bill. So it's a classical U-turn of the BJP. The Congress has always believed in making sure that we take everyone along, but surprisingly and unfortunately, in the 9 months, we haven't seen that happening with this government, because they think that they have a brute majority, at least in the lower house. In the upper house, friends of mine like Derek and the Congress party are keeping them extremely busy, but at least in the lower house, there is no conversation on any ordinance, on any bill, and therefore this concept that you talked about of a brute majority and pushing things through in a democratic setup, I think is very unhealthy going forward.
Well,
I must add something. Just 1 second. 1 second. I'm speaking in your favors. I'm speaking in your favors.
Ek minute. See, you asked the question about Dr. Manmohan Singh's government. Every minister in Dr. Manmohan Singh's cabinet was the government, but there was no government at all. I'd like to repeat.
There is a one-man
Every minister was the government, but as such there was no government at all. So that was the level of democracy you had during Dr. Manmohan Singh's time.
I have to just, since Jyotir gave you the passionate plea on the land bill, the Congress land bill which came, the BJP supported, right? Now the BJP have brought a land bill, the Congress is against it. The only one party which opposed the Congress land bill, we voted against it in Rajya Sabha. We voted against it in Rajya Sabha. We opposed the Congress land bill. We thought it was bad. We are opposing the BJP one because it was worse. So regional parties are much more consistent than the so-called...
you are permanent opposition.
And Mr. Punj...
You are a permanent opposition.
No. Doesn't matter. The point, Mr. Punj, the point here is those serious issues on land, and for all the noise you make about the left, and let me say this, the left in Parliament is also extremely consistent. But you guys, 2 years ago, nobody voted on the bill. You all joined. FDI insurance was the same problem. So please, the so-called regional parties, I can't use the word smaller parties with our numbers, but But so don't make it, that these guys are holding up.
But Derek,
And the BJP is making another excuse because Parliament is not working. I'll give you 10 things for which they could have done. They don't need Parliament to appoint a CIC. They don't need Parliament to appoint, CVC, did I say CIC? Sorry. They don't need Parliament to make 10, 12, 15 appointments. They don't need Parliament to nominate 2 members of the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. So they have to do. They're making us work on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday.
That's Modi's work ethic.
No, Parliament is functioning now.
No. This is not about work ethic. Next you'll start talking about suits and all that. I don't want to go there.
No, but Derek, it is because of the opposition, the consistent opposition of the Trinamool on matters like land acquisition, that the state of industry in Bengal is what it is.
Let me give you 3. I don't want to use this forum because then you say I'm boring you before lunch, and as it is, it's lunchtime, and we are not invited here for lunch, or are we?
Of course you are invited for lunch.
Okay. No, those figures, this is not the figure to tell you, but on 4 or 5 parameters, and I don't want to give you advertising spiel from Bengal, this is not the forum. Bengal on most parameters is ahead of the national average. Leave the advertising spiel out. Leave the advertising spiel. I'm talking about a bigger point of being consistent.
Okay.
Blame the Trinamool for that also.
Our pitch is caving in. I'm very concerned. After
I think that
the
is
pitch
the sign
is beginning
that,
to descend.
that is the sign that soup is served.
No, I have one second. We've spoken about dissent in Parliament. We've spoken about dissent in political parties. I now want to come to dissent on the street. And Mr. Punj, I'm particularly concerned about this government, where Priya Pillai, a Greenpeace activist, and someone who has a different view from several of us over here, is denied the right to dissent just because the state doesn't agree with her. Is that not trampling on the democratic values that we stand for? Why is the Modi government so scared of dissent?
It is not a question of being scared of dissent. Tell me what good it will do, even if you have genuine problems of tribals, going to British MPs and explaining them to them. And it is within the framework of the law. And now the High Court has obviously revoked that order. So it is within the system.
But why would the system...
Why would you want to throttle dissent if she wants to go and
no
express her views in whatever forum she'd like to?
No.
She's an independent citizen of this country. You're going to control people like the Gestapo and make sure that there's no voice that goes out there?
No.
It's shocking.
Take it beyond the lady. Take it beyond the lady. Take it beyond the lady. Please, if I want to eat a particular meat in the privacy of my room in Maharashtra or Haryana, please, for heaven's sake, allow me to do that. Allow me to do that.
And if
even in Dubai or in Bahrain or in Kuwait, you can go into a supermarket and you can buy pork. It's written there for non-Muslims only. By the way, I don't eat beef at home. I don't cook beef at home. But it's my right. And forget about the religious part. It's a bad economic decision. Maharashtra has a 60% fodder shortage. So that's a bad idea. This is not only about religion. It's a much bigger issue. And worse still, when we bring up the issue in Parliament, the BJP MPs tell us, don't bring this up. This is a sensitive issue. Sensitive issue? You don't have to change the constitution of this country. That's what scares me. You don't have to change the constitution of this country to do this kind of nonsense. You do what you do in Maharashtra, you do what you do in Haryana. A sexual harassment case or a terrorist case has a smaller penalty than eating a beefsteak in Mumbai. What do you have to say to that, sir?
I'll tell you what I have to
Combined with that, the fact that when a lady wants to go and profess a point of view to any lobby, wherever she'd like to go abroad, an Indian citizen is throttled. But at the same time, when your ministers want to go wearing a particular dress, they're called back from the airport to make sure they change their dress before they go onto a flight. I mean, what kind of democracy is this?
No, I'll tell you what sort of democracy
and at the same time, your MPs, your members of parliament say that Mahatma Gandhi, Nathuram Godse was a Deshbhakt, and you cannot even control them until we raise our voice in parliament. It's shocking.
Well, you are talking... Let me...
Mr. Punj,
he can't answer unless he gets a signal from Nagpur. He can't.
Mr. Scindia, you are talking with a forked tongue. You are talking at 2 levels. Somebody
the only forked tongue that I've seen in 14 years is of that of the BJP.
Yes.
And it's so forked that it can't be joined together.
Yes. You talk on one hand, why somebody can talk like Godse. He doesn't have a right to speak. There has to be restriction on his speech.
I didn't say that. I said any person who says that ask this audience here, any person who says that Nathuram Godse is a Deshbhakt, would you want to condemn that or not?
Just 1 second. Condemn is okay.
I didn't hear you. Do you want to condemn that or not?
Does he have a right to say or not?
But the Modi Sahib government is quiet until we raise it.
Does he have a right to say or not?
Until we ask him for an apology, they're quiet in Parliament.
It is not the merits of the issue. Does he have a
Wake up and rise. You have the leadership in this country. Stand up and lead this country like the people want you to lead it.
Mr. Scindia.
Now I'll have to do what the speaker does. Bed jao. This is going to be a bit of bed jao.
I'm so glad you kept Dushyant and me between the two of them, and Dushyant and Salim Bhai between the two of us.
No. The issue is simple. If he has a right to say it or not, is he entitled to you want that man to be hanged?
Why does Priya Pillai?
You have to accept one thing.
Sir,
Everybody, just 1 second.
I'm taking your side.
No, just 1 second. Everybody
The debate has been settled. The score is 67-3.
Everybody is entitled to a point of view. You Pillai has a point of view. She has to be protected. But this man has a point of view. He doesn't have a...
Next Bihar. 67-3. The next is Bihar.
Okay, I have to take 2 questions from the audience, please. Can we have people who put their hands up and we can have questions? Who wants to ask the first question? That lady wants to ask the first question. Yes. Can someone bring her a mic, please?
Good afternoon. My question is for Mr. Scindia. Now, I have grown up in the glorious years of the Congress, the absolutely glorious Congress. I've grown with them. I had grown to love them. Until today, I support them. My question is, how could the Congress not see today coming? How could they dare not to see today coming? Why? Why did it happen? And they owe people like me an explanation for this. I have supported them. My family has supported them. How dare they not see this coming?
Let me say this, that I appreciate your sentiments, and there is no excuse for our performance in this election. I think if we start defending it, you're starting on the wrong foot. I don't think 1 or 2 things went wrong. I think possibly everything that could go wrong went wrong, right?
Correct.
And I think it's important, if I may just be allowed to finish, and I think it's important, and there are crests and troughs in every organization, in every institution. This is probably the lowest trough we've ever reached. But I think that we must seize this as an opportunity. And the only way that you can seize this as an opportunity is if you actually go back to the drawing board, see and examine why is it that you have failed people such as the lady who has brought up that point, what exactly went wrong, and build on a strategy going forward. And I think that's what we're trying to do in the months to come. And I'm sure that we will come up with a strategy and a new value statement with which we will come to people such as yourself.
But it's been 9 months.
To gain back your trust.
Rahul has gone around only looking for that answer. Rahul Gandhi is busy looking around for that answer.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
Yes,
but I really do think we are forming the building blocks as we speak.
Will also
and I think we will.
Like
I would be very worried if we, as a member of parliament of the Congress Party myself, if we don't put something in place in the next couple of months.
I don't know where he's gone, but wherever he's gone, I hope he finds the banyan tree of enlightenment. Let's take the next question. This lady here, please. Just go on, speak. You don't need to turn anything on.
Hello. Yeah, this is on. So my question is not to anybody specifically, but since the whole issue was dissent, about 2.5 years ago, some of us came together from civil society, and we said, how can we change the system which does not allow a single MP to open up and express himself or herself in the parliament? So we actually sat down, we got together a group of people across India, and we said, can we create a party which is full of dissenters within the party? Okay.
So you created the Aam Aadmi Party?
No, it wasn't the Aam Aadmi Party. So coming now to the Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party, and why we stopped from going forward, we said is there is an alternative coming up in the form of Aam Aadmi Party in India, which actually believes in dissent. They believe in alternative politics, which is completely democratic polity, something which has not been happening in Congress. And I would agree with Balbirji that whatever.
Can you ask your question?
So my question is, we seeing the same thing happening in Aam Aadmi Party today. Forget about the parliament, they're not even allowing dissent within the party. Where are we headed as an Indian nation? If this is the form of democracy, we're talking about freedom of expression and we're talking about...
We've understood.
Yeah,
so, Derek,
where is it?
Does the Aam Aadmi Party come out because other parties don't allow for dissent?
No, I think firstly, this overall feeling of cynicism also has to be lifted. Let's look at the positives. Today, the Chief Minister of Gujarat is now the Prime Minister of India. The former Chief Minister of UP is now the Home Minister of India. The former Railway Minister of India is now the Chief Minister of Bengal. So all is not as bad as you guys make it look in the political system. On the Aam Aadmi Party, it is an experiment. They've got a huge mandate. I think they're learning as they go along, and their dissent is more on television. Now, they lived, when they came to power, you guys in the media played a big role in them coming to power. So I think that is hurting them at present. But to be fair to the Aam Aadmi Party, they need time. They need time. They've been in government for a few months. I'm not a part of the Aam Aadmi Party, but I think it's an experiment. It's too early to say the experiment failed.
Jyotir?
I think just let me add
and
let me differ a little bit with Derek. I don't think the rationale is whether someone was a chief minister of a certain state and has now become a minister in the central government or has now become the Prime Minister of India. I don't think that that is the barometer of health of a democracy in India. I think the barometer of health in a democracy in India is much more different than that. For the 543 MPs that you see in the Lok Sabha today, and for all the cynicism that is out there, there is a huge proportion of those MPs that actually really work hard on the ground, that actually are connected with the people there, that actually bring about a difference in people's lives. And for all the ostracism that you see from the outside, there is a tremendous amount of positivity and a lot of hard work that a number of MPs in our own capacity we do in our areas. So it's very easy to be cynical on the outside and to ostracize, but please do understand that there are a lot, I'm saying there are black sheep, but don't paint the whole parliament with the same brush. There are black sheep in every aspect of society, but there are a lot of people, good people also, doing good work within parliament and as well as the grassroots level. And I think it's important that the media also takes a front foot role in that, in also exposing the black sheep as well as portraying the guys and the ladies who are doing a great job at the grassroots level.
Dushyant.
How she spoke about Aam Aadmi Party. See, everybody here on the dais with me has been to Parliament, I think, a couple of times or more. And being there as a government for Kejriwal, I think it's a learning experience. And he has just about 6 months to learn about the government. It is not easy for a chief minister to run a state. First of all, he was an IAS officer. He doesn't know about running. I think this is the learning period. But after 6 months, he might understand how the government runs properly. He must know how he can accommodate all his MLAs, and then the government will start running. He has 5 years to run, and hopefully, if he understands...
So he'll learn on the job, and everyone will have to deal with the consequences of him learning on the job.
Since we have got the political response, let me take it to a farther in a broader canvas. It's a question of societal attitude. Now, we have built this modern democracy, but in this edifice, we have found the foundation, still the reminiscence of feudal reminiscence there. So, हिंदी में बोलते हैं नॉर्थ इंडिया में जरूरत कैसे किए पावर मेक्स यू माइटियर इट्स नॉट ओनली इन पॉलिटिक्स नॉट ओनली इन पार्टी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बट ऑल्सो अदर इंस्टीट्यूशंस एवरीवेयर विल फाइंड इफ विद इन अ फैमिली इफ अ वुमन इज सेइंग समथिंग द डोमिनेशन इज अदर वे अराउंड सेकेंडली यंगर पीपल पुटिंग सम क्वेश्चन द एल्डर पीपल से आपकी कितनी हुई पावरफुल पीपल जरूरत कैसे किया आपने तो सोसाइटल एटीट्यूड जो है दैट डजंट अलाउ out of box thinking. But now modern technology, modern education, modern society and exposure is making this happening.
Mr. Punj, the lack of dissent, did that throw up the Aam Aadmi Party? The scoreline in Delhi sees the BJP reduced to 3 seats. Are you concerned that as the Congress cedes more and more space, that this could possibly happen in Gujarat, in Madhya Pradesh, in Rajasthan, other states where there's no viable or strong third alternative?
I'll divide my answer in two parts. Number one, the ladies and so many other people's frustration or disappointment with Aam Aadmi Party. The fact is that the Aam Aadmi Party, which grew out of Anna's movement, they promised a sort of a utopia. They promised some sort of a political setup where you will not have all those problems which you find in normal political parties. Now, this was an impossible promise to live with. And ultimately, Aam Aadmi Party has turned out to be as good or as bad as most of the other political parties. And the support base, which had supported it, they were not ready for this sort of a shock. So that explains her frustration and the frustration of many supporters of Aam Aadmi Party. As far as we in the BJP... But
she didn't say anything about being frustrated.
She did say that they are very disappointed.
In the fighting, okay.
Yes. She did say that she was very disappointed with the way Aam Aadmi Party has turned out to be. Now, as far as the BJP is concerned, you know, Delhi came as a shock to us also. And now our vote share remained virtually the same as it was in the last Vidhan Sabha election. There was no change. But because the Congress, the voters of Congress, they migrated wholesale to en masse to Aam Aadmi Party, and therefore the results came out the way they came out. But we don't think this is going to be a repeat in any other state. This was a phenomena which was peculiar to
So you're saying
Delhi.
Kejriwal should send Rahul Gandhi a thank you note with a bouquet of flowers? I'm saying you're saying that Kejriwal should send Rahul Gandhi a thank you note and a bouquet of flowers when he comes back.
It is up to Kejriwal, but first he will have to find where Rahul Gandhi is at the moment. So, address is not known. This is how the courier will come back. Thank you.
You're enjoying the digs, huh?
And Jyotir is wondering
that's the only thing they can at this point of time.
Sir,
they
No,
can
there
do.
are so many things.
The autocracy with which they function. But I think on a more serious note, I think in India we really need to move. I personally feel so, and maybe I'm in a minority. But I think in India, a lot of the politics in India is concentrated about people, parties, and systems that tend to overcommit and then underdeliver. And I think what we need in India is really a system wherein probably you may undercommit, but during your tenure, make sure that you overdeliver.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the India Today Conclave, this has been a cracking crossfire session. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you so much.